I was trying to figure out what was happening.
Listen, welcome back. We've been gone for a minute. It's back to school. What better way to welcome everyone back than a little bit of good old Mr. Cartel? Okay? Listen, if you are not familiar with Welcome Back Carter, the problem is you. Hey Fifi TV, what's up, boo? Hey China White. Fifi, I gotta order some candles from you, honey. I gotta get me some candles from you. Well, welcome.
Hey, everybody.
We have been gone for a minute, but we back with the jump off. How you doing, Doctor El Teddy? How's it going?
I am well. I am well. Um, yeah, there's been a lot going on in the
It's
last.
been a lot. Listen, this how you know it's been a lot going on because we ain't even talked to each other. That's how we've been playing phone tag for weeks. Like it's been a lot. Back to school, and then I've had a lot of stuff going on, and you've had a lot of stuff going on, and so. But we are here now. Um. So
She don't like me. She don't like me no more, y'all. She don't like me.
I knew you. I was waiting for
I
it. Hey,
feel
what's up?
bad.
Just see below. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. So listen, you guys, welcome back. I'm gonna go ahead and as you all know, I am still in a traditional school setting. Dr. El Teddy is in a non-traditional school setting. He's with adult education. So he never really stopped. I mean, he's always been virtual type situation. I mean, I know your office was closed for a while, but your students have always sort of been online, right? Am I correct in that
You
statement?
are right, ma'am. To
Okay.
God.
Now
To
I
God.
am back for the first time in a year and a half. I am back in the building, honey, on the front lines.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Exactly. Listen.
Y'all pray her strength in the Lord because the first month or so, not maybe not the whole month, but at least the first 2 to 3 weeks, it takes some time for you to get your legs back under you
It
and to get
does.
and to get back into the swing of okay, this shit is tiring. Oh, excuse my friend. This is very tiring. It's very draining. Do not bother me for the first hour and a half to hour after I get
Listen,
out of work, or I might choke you to death. Don't talk to me. Don't bother me. Don't say anything out of the way to me, because you might get the business. I'm just saying.
listen. You're not lying. Everything you said is absolutely correct. Because the reality of the situation is, and I used to tell people all the time, when you go back to work, and for me, for as long as we've been out, it's just even that much more of an adjustment. Um, but going back to work, you got like I always I usually lose my voice at the beginning of the year. You're tired. It's just a lot, and then you got a lot of stuff going on at the beginning of the year that once you get your schedule in place, and you kind of good. But the first couple of weeks, it's like boom, 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 boom. But we didn't already have 4 cases of the COVID. They sent out a new policy today, a back to school policy, whatever they calling it. I'm like, I needed this 3 weeks ago.
Well, let's just be clear for the people around the country, the people who have sent their sons and or daughters and or non-binary children to said school systems, please understand that that may be very tentative and you may be asked to bring them back home.
Sure.
And let me preface all of our stories today with this. Most of what we see in a lot of these stories going on is the fear of parents not wanting children to be back at home and them having to take care of their bad behind kids no more. Let's just be clear. I'm gonna just call it out and call it what it is. A lot of the lunacy that we live in, the whole bizarro world that the education system is dealing with right now, is simply because those parents had a taste of what their kids are like during the day when they send them in school, and they said, I don't want They don't want no parts of that. They want to be able to send them to school so that we can deal with the buffoonery.
Let me say this. Can I have a moment? Can I have a moment? Now we right before we went live, El Teddy said that because we have a couple of stories today that are going to give El Teddy a sugar spike. And he reminded me that there have been some times when I have had a few rants of my own. Now I don't believe that to be true, but I'm about to go on one right now.
Wait a minute. Wait. You can't say I don't believe that to be true. And follow that up by saying, "Oh, I'm going that or that with right now." Wait, what?
Oh, I'm about to go on one right now. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you what's about to happen right now. Here's my problem with you people. And when I say you people, y'all know I'm not talking about the people in the chat that I love. Y'all know I'm not talking about y'all. But here's the problem I have with you people. You cannot have it both ways, okay? Y'all have been begging, pleading, stealing. You've been protesting. You've been blowing up the people's phone lines down to the governor's office, the mayor's office, hell, the president's office, talking about kids need to be back in school. The kids need to be back in school. We got to get the kids back in school, okay? But now that the kids are back in school, you know what now you mad talking about, well, what are y'all going to do to protect our kids' safety? I don't understand. You're sending the kids to school and they're getting sick. We're in the middle of a pandemic. What the hell did you think was going to happen? Over here where I live, there was a whole thing on the news about the policy, because basically what they are saying, they said to the adults and they have said to the children, if you are vaccinated, even if you have been exposed, even if you test positive, if you are vaccinated, you are expected to come to school. They have told the adults, if you test positive, but you are vaccinated and you are not showing any symptoms, you are expected to come to work. They have told the children, if they have been exposed to the Rona and they have not shown any symptoms, they are expected to come if they've been vaccinated. I don't know who the hell told y'all that being vaccinated meant you can't catch it, but whatever. So now that everybody is back in school, now y'all talking about, oh, it's not safe. We tried to tell y'all it wasn't safe. But when we said it wasn't safe last year, then y'all was like, oh, y'all just lazy. Y'all just don't want to go back to work. Y'all don't want to teach these kids. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. So now that we are back at work and your children's safety is at risk every damn day, I want you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, was this worth it? I'm done. Stop it, El Teddy. Stop.
Yeah, come back down. Is it okay? Is it okay?
Stop it.
Is it okay for me to come back down? But she is the one who's saying, oh, I don't have no rents. El Teddy, you have all of the rents. I don't have no rent. The people will tell you.
I didn't have no rents at first.
You have had
many. I thought about it, and it just made me mad. You can't have it both ways. Right, and that's my thing. That's what I said, and I said that same thing today. I said, if I called my job and said, hey, I just got back from the doctor, and the doctor said I have the flu, you wouldn't say come to work. But it's okay for me to come to work with the Rona? Make that make sense. I'm done. For real, I'm done.
I don't know what just happened to my screen.
Uh-oh, you can't see me?
Hold on. No,
it's storming where I am, so I wonder if it's
no, it's not you, it's me. My screen.
Oh,
okay. I can't. Hold on. Wait, what's happening with my screen, God?
Because you're frozen on my end. He said, "They be laughing at you being frozen." I don't know what's going on with El Teddy, y'all. So we have while he's getting himself together, I may have to take him out and bring him back in. But while we're doing that, we have a couple of good stories for you. A lot of the stories, to be honest with you guys, that we have been looking at really deal with what's going on in these schools. It is storming. It just got dark, y'all, like dark. But what has been going on with this in the schools and the challenges? I'm gonna take him out. I'm just gonna take him out and let him come back in. Okay, there he is. He's coming back in. Okay, you back? You ready?
I think I'm on multiple I don't. Take me all the way out, please, and
Take you all the
just
way out.
sort
Okay,
me
I'm
out.
gonna take you out. I'm gonna take you out. All right. All right. I'm kicking him out of the studio. All right. You want me to kick the other one out too? Because I see the top of your head. I'm gonna let him get himself together. So we have a couple of articles. Like I said, a lot of the articles are dealing with what the challenges are across the country and the numbers and what that looks like. But like I said to all of you guys, we predicted, a lot of what we predicted was going to happen is what actually really did happen. The numbers are not looking good. A lot of kids are getting sick. A lot of adults are getting sick. We're just going to continue to keep everybody lifted in prayer. It's scary. As someone who is doing it every day, it is scary. I'm not even going to pretend. But until I find another job, mama got to pay her bills. So it is what it is. And again, I know a lot of people are back at work and a lot of people are dealing with it. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. So waiting for El Teddy to get back in here, child. COVID took good sense away from people, child. It sure did. That don't make no damn sense. Come if you got COVID, but if you got a cold or fever, stay home. Yep, that's exactly what it is, child. That's exactly what it is. I lift all the educators and students in prayer because it's a whole mess here in Texas, especially in my district, overcrowded, fighting COVID. Child. We are overcrowded. We don't have no bus drivers, and we have a teacher shortage. That's it. That's all. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Are you there? Okay, because you weren't moving, so I didn't know if you were frozen again.
I don't know what happened. I think
It's all good. Abby said that. Abby said your screen got scared of me. That's all.
right. Your rant sent my whole internet into,
I mean, listen, it was what it was. So let's get to this first article since let's get to the first one. The first article is dealing with, hold on. Your governor
death sentence.
I mean, and as always, the articles are in the description box if you guys want to go back and reference them at a later time. This article is from The Hill. It is from September the 14th. DeSantis calls for end to standardized testing in Florida. Now, again, as always, I'm going to read a little bit of the article. I'm not going to read the whole article because we'll be here all day, but I'm going to read a little bit of the article, and then, we will pause for the calls and see how you guys feel about it and hear what El Teddy has to add to it. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced on Tuesday that the state will replace the outdated, in quotation marks, Florida Standard Assessment, the FSA, with a progress monitoring system that periodically evaluates student performance. Florida's education focus should be students' growth and how we restore the conversation between parents and teachers in support of students' growth, DeSantis said. The new proposed system would include 3 shorter tests in the fall, winter, and spring in an effort to assess students in real time rather than with a single longer exam. The new program will require 75% less testing time than the FSA testing model. We believe that having results monitored and measured is very, very important. But we also think that the FSA is outmoded at this point and that we need to move forward with a more, I'd say, nimble and effective approach. Hold on. DeSantis said that while the legislation still needs to be worked on, support for it was strong. He added that he is hopeful to have new legislation fully implemented by 22-23 school year. That's kind of quick. All right. Now, side note, before we go there, we're not going to dwell on this because we spoke on it, and El Teddy told us what was going to happen because he explained to us that the state Supreme Court of Florida is stacked, but we know that the mask mandate went to the Supreme Court and DeSantis won, and there's no longer a mask mandate in Florida public schools at this time. I'm not sure. I have not read up to see if they're going to appeal it to a higher court, but as of right now, that is what it is. So, uh, El Teddy, how do we feel about this new testing
Um,
model?
this is smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. And I say that because there are many people on the left, on the far left, that want to do away with standardized testing altogether.
Right.
That's what this is doing. What this is doing is, as opposed to saying we're going to have one standardized testing period toward the end of the school year, you're going to spread it out throughout the school year 3 times a year, which means that the whole, and really be, you know what it's like during testing time. The whole school is at a tense moment during that period of standardized testing. Like, students experience anxieties, teachers experience anxieties,
Mm-hmm.
administration does. It's like you're in this bizarro world where you're like, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? Because you have to have this like school on lockdown where you turn your school into the penitentiary. And now there's this
Mm-hmm.
ultra sensitive level of anxiety. And while he said, oh, but the tests are going to be shorter, it's still a formalized, standardized test. And I think the problem comes in people have turned that term into a bad word or a bad term. There's no problem with standardized testing as long as it is equitable and as long as you offer alternatives for those students who require alternatives and accommodations, and it's vetted well, and the standard deviations are allowed for, and all of the variants that go along with the response items and so forth are done. But him saying, "Oh, we're going to chop it into 3 tests," really be, like I know, a lot of times the beginning of the school year is a transient period for a lot of students because they might be coming from a different school, they might be coming from a different state, they might be coming from a different you know district or whatever, where what they learned then is different than what they learned, what you learned, at your respective school or location.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many parameters that go into this. The other thing is FSA isn't just one test for one subject. It spans the gamut of the full spectrum of education. So you're telling me that this is going to be something that you're going to implement for well, for all of the grade levels first. Then within the different grade levels, the different disciplines. And then when you talk about the different disciplines, you got things like courses like biology and science and history and all kinds of other courses that also do these testing, and you all still haven't come to a um a decided decision on the direction for those. And what I mean by that is, if I just take history for example, some history teachers teach things in a particular order or in a particular scope and sequence that is counter or different than others. And so now, and even if you go district by district, I've seen a district in one area that say this is our scope and sequence because we know this is but it may be a little different from what y'all doing next door, but it'll all get to the end at the for standardized testing at the end, because we know our students and we know the students in this particular area need it this way. Whereas another district on the other side of the state may say, yeah, that doesn't work for our students. We need to teach it in this order and in this manner so that we all get to the same ending point and all of our students can be successful. Now, what you're saying is if you're going to test students that often, you're saying every student in every part of the state of Florida should be required to learn the exact same thing at the exact same moment throughout the school year. And that's just not how education works. That's just not how it works. And I think before I go off on Governor Death sentence about that, it sounds good, but there's a whole lot of groundwork and research and background work that has to be done before you could just nilly willy just, you know, spit that out of your mouth, Governor Death sentence, and say, oh, and you're like you said, 2022 school year is next school year. 2022-23 school year is next school year. You haven't even come up with the tests themselves. And before you even come up with the test, you have to pilot the test or you have to vet the test. When you go and you give it to certain test groups and so forth like that, then after you give it out to the test group, then you have certain schools where that school becomes a pilot for the test, and you take the data from those institutions and you disaggregate the data and you do all of the information. And it takes, my point is, it takes years sometimes to develop tests. And you're talking about a year from now, you're going to be doing this. This is what you do. You have an idiot and a moron in a position of influence and power making decisions that go counter to everything that is scientific, that is right standing, and that is reasoning. I'm sorry. Go ahead, really, because you know me.
No problem. Well, it looks like it's cleared up now. I was going to tell you that your pixels were off, but I didn't want to interrupt you while you were talking. But it looks like it's clearing up now. So all I want to say is, I agree with you that standardized testing has been demonized. I agree that there needs to be a measurement of progress. There has to be a starting point and an ending point. There has to be guidance. The problem has been that standardized testing has been misused, I mean, damn near since the beginning. And like you said, the equity and the accessibility of resources and all of the above. My biggest problem, and I've said this a million times and I'll continue to say it, is we're not assessing learning, we're assessing learning skills. And we're only focusing on English and math, as if none of the other classes are important. And so then we wonder why the kids don't think that any of the other classes are important, because they're not tested on anything else.
Well, I will speak to Florida. I can only speak to the FSA. I can say the FSA does not just focus on English and math, and that's why I went through that whole thing. The FSA covers all sciences on the high school level, and 2 grade levels in middle school, 2 grade levels in elementary. History once on the elementary level, once on the middle school level, and once on the high school level.
But is it testing content or is it testing reading skills?
Oh no, it's content. That is content.
Because I don't have a problem with it being content. Because again,
this is all
I
content.
I told you that was my argument with.
It has to be in high school. It is, I think it's U.S. history for high school, which is 11th grade. 11th grade U.S. history for the FSA, I believe it still is for high school. But my point is that I applaud. I don't have a real problem with the FSA because it was one of the first tests that veered away. We used to have the FCAT, which was only centered around reading and math. When the FSA came in play, it said no, the other disciplines are important as well, and so that became a part of the mix as well. And when Common Core came in and so forth. So I will say that they made a very concerted effort to do that. But my problem is there's so many tests, there's so many grade levels, and there's so much vetting that has to go through this, and the whole process of getting a test aligned and getting a test ready for mass distribution to students and having alternatives. He's talking out of both sides of his neck. Because first of all, we have an election for Florida governor in 2022. So he's just saying whatever he needs to say right now and doing whatever he needs to do right now to because I think he wants to secure governorship again so that he can run in 2024 as a sitting governor. That's what we got going on here with death sentence.
Right. I absolutely know he's going to run for president. So that's not even a question mark in my head. So yeah, so there's that. Now I honestly, and you can tell me, I have not heard a lot of chatter in other places. So this isn't something that seems to be trending or seems to be catching fire. Which, you know, and again, like you said, if this were going to be properly vetted, if this was going to be really thought out, and this really isn't about getting rid of standardized testing, it's really just bringing in a new way of testing. Like you said, it's really not. So don't be fooled by the headline. They're really not talking about getting rid of standardized testing in Florida. They're just making it, basically what they're doing is they're testing in benchmarks. They're going to have the fall would almost sort of be a pre-test.
Well,
then you'll have that middle of the year, and then you'll have that final. So
in most districts, they have quarterly assessments where at the end of each marking period, they have a district-wide assessment where they, you know, test everybody to see where they are based on where their scope and sequence or their curriculum mapping says they should be according to what benchmarks they should have covered at that point. I hate that word covered because that's generally what people do. They just say, oh, I covered that and let me just move on, as opposed to having true education that happened.
Facts. All right. Do you want to, I didn't put this article in the beginning, but do you want to talk about this article? The stakes feel higher than ever as Education Secretary welcomes students back. Do you want to?
The one on Tennessee, no, we can skip Tennessee. It's the same.
Yeah, that's kind of why I said that. Okay, so here's where ladies and gentlemen, here's where here's where we kind of gonna switch over a little bit. Program here. If I went on a rant at the beginning, here's where you will see the doctor. So this article comes from The Hill, September the 20th, 2021. Oregon school staffer protest vaccine mandate by wearing blackface to dress as Rosa Parks. You heard me. Do I need to read that again?
Say it one more time for the people in the back.
I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the back. Oregon school staffer protest vaccine mandate by wearing blackface to dress as Rosa Parks. A staff member now when they keep saying staff member, that leads me to believe it's not a teacher. A staff member at a Newberg, Oregon elementary school used blackface to dress up as civil rights icon Rosa Parks in protest of her school's COVID-19 mask mandate. An unidentified staff member told KOIN that Maybelle Rush, elementary school special education assistant. Okay, that's the name of the school, was Maybelle Rush, child. Lauren Peffery, I'm going to say, had darkened her face with iodine for the demonstration. First of all, we're not going to call that a demonstration. That's what we're not going to do. Last Friday, one of our employees reported to work in blackface, the school district said in a statement. The employee was removed from the location, and Human Resource has placed that employee on administrative leave. The administration of Newberg Public Schools condemns all expressions of racism. The blackface incident comes amid controversy surrounding a Newberg high school student being connected to a mock slave trade Snapchat group, according to a CBS affiliate. Yeah, it gets deep. I'm going to need y'all to hold on. The local school board, meanwhile, has faced pushback over its attempts to ban any Black Lives Matter and LGBTQIA pride flags on school grounds as political symbols. This makes sense only because we have our country commissioner, Mary Starrett, who drew the line between vaccine mandates and Jim Crow. Wait a minute, what? Hold on. I'm going to read that one more time. I'm going to go back. Ty Hardin Moore, a former candidate for the school board who has children in the district, told KOIN that local school leaders must do better. This makes sense only because we have our community commissioner, Mary Starrett, who drew the line between vaccine mandates and Jim Crow. Hardin Moore said that was only a couple of months ago. Our country leadership is saying basic public health measures are akin to Jim Crow. There is a line between our political leadership and something like this happening. Our leadership matters. So they said that there was a connection. The county commissioner said that there was a connection between stop, El Teddy. That there was a connection between the mask mandate and Jim Crow. There are so many different ways that I can address that being wrong that I don't have time. And as a result of her making the connection to Jim Crow, even listen, as deplorable as I think that is, that does not give nobody license to say, okay, then I'm going to protest as Rosa Parks. And even if you are going to protest as Rosa Parks, we have said a million times, you don't have to do it in blackface. Like, there's so many layers to this. Go ahead, El Teddy. I'm just going to black out my screen.
Let me tell you why this person was emboldened to do this.
Oh.
Did you not just hear what we have going on? Let me paint this picture for you. Because for all of you people sitting around thinking that America is going to do better and that America is here for y'all and that things are going to get better under the current administration, it's going to get worse. We're going to have more and more instances of this idiocy and buffoonery. Now, let me say to you, Oregon traditionally is as blue as you get. That whole western corridor of these yet to be United States is as blue as you get. California, Oregon, and Washington State, you don't even have to think about. Really B is our social sciences expert on this panel. She will tell you it gets no bluer than the western corridor of these yet to be United States of America. You don't even have to think about it. There's no question on election night which way California, Oregon, and the state of Washington are going to go. You got all of the
wait for those votes to come in.
You get all of the blue people, all of the liberals, all of the people hanging way off the left-hand side of the political spectrum out of there, okay? And then the state of Oregon, dead smack in the middle of blue country. You got a district where we got all of these things going on. You got a person running for county commission that is compared wearing masks to Jim Crow because, like all of her white counterparts, white people always want to play victim when it's advantageous. They want to be the oppressors as long as they are in power, but then when they feel like the power is about to be equitable and equal, then they want to become victim because they want so much so to be able to hang on the balance of dealing with the atrocities that Black people had to deal with in this country so that they could use that to say that people are oppressing them. They want so much so to be the reason to say that black people are oppressing them when they have oppressed not just black people but every other race across the globe from the beginning of time. So that's why you always go hear white people in these yet to be United States of America comparing wearing freaking masks to Jim Crow. Mind you, in Jim Crow era, you white people wore masks and hoods to oppress and kill black people. Shall I remind you of that?
Mm.
In addition to that, the children in this district are on their Snapchats having, you heard it, slave auction. Let me say that again. In 2021, in the year of our Lord, 2021, children. I'm not talking about adults. I'm not talking about their racist ass grandparents, great grandparents, parents, or whatever. I'm talking about children in high school and some in middle school are on Snapchat hosting and holding slave auctions. And so for all of you people thinking, oh, these people just have to die and it's going to get better, it's not getting any better. Yes, ma'am.
Aren't these the same children that the opponents of critical race theory say they shouldn't be punished for the sins of their forefathers and they shouldn't be made to feel bad about what happened with their forefathers? Are these the same kids?
But they are mirroring. Well, wait a minute. They're mirroring the action of their forefathers by having slave auctions.
Slave auctions. On Snapchat. And you know why it's on Snapchat, right? Because it goes away.
Right. Then
it means that there's a forethought to know that what you're doing is not appropriate.
Because you know it's not appropriate.
Right. Then, but they don't need to learn about their history. They don't need to learn about
that. You not only do that, but you want to continue to oppress minorities and oppress those already oppressed by saying, oh, you black people, don't you dare think about bringing no Black Lives Matter in this goddamn school. No flags, no nothing with no Black Lives Matter.
Nope, nothing.
Or the Rainbow Coalition.
Yeah, don't forget about the Rainbow Coalition. Y'all not welcome either.
You Rainbow Coalition people, we don't give a shit about your little rainbow flags. And all y'all got, don't bring that shit around here because we don't want no parts of it. And I'm sorry if I'm cussing, but you just gonna have to get it today. Because these people don't give a shit about us, so I don't give a shit about them and their sensitivity. They're my curse words. If you can elect a president who can call African countries, their countries that are majority black shitholes, I would say that the crap that you people are doing is shit. Okay? So, this is why this teacher felt emboldened to say, well, hell, y'all got all this shit going on. I might as well come on in blackface because it's par for the course. We got all this going on. Ain't nobody said nothing. Ain't nobody stopped nothing that's going on over here. They're doing nothing to limit or stop or quell or stymie or, you know, any of what's going on. So I might as well go on and get it blackface. Hell, it's par for the course. Everybody else doing it, why not join? Why not? And this is in, I'm going to say this again, the center and the middle of the bluest part of the country. So what y'all think will happen in the rest of the country? If this is happening in the middle of the bluest part of the country, what y'all think happened in another part, in the great state of Texas and Mississippi and Alabama and Florida, and Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina? What y'all think happened over there in the South? And you got this going on in Oregon. I'm just telling y'all what I know. This is cool. I guarantee you that teacher still has a job and will have a job a year from now.
Probably.
I'm just saying.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
that happened.
mhm.
Are you ready for the? You know, we probably should have like found like a good hearted story to put in between. Like we should have found like another story like who won the national spelling bee. I mean, I know it's not that time of year, but like we needed to find like a good old human interest, a light-hearted,
The
hard
mix in
type
between, but
situation.
we don't have any because the country is going to hell in the handbasket, and you're sending the educational system ahead of you. You're going to hell in the handbasket, but you're throwing the education system ahead of you to clear the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because the next story ain't a whole lot better, y'all. I mean, we tried to listen, getting rid of standardized tests was about as light as this is gonna get this episode. So I'm sorry. It's about that's about as light as this is gonna get. So our next story and our final story for this afternoon. This is also coming from the Hill. Oh,
Let
no,
me.
no, 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 no. No, no, actually, no. You were talking about Tennessee. I was talking about the other article about this um what's his name? Education secretary. The stakes feel higher than ever as education secretary welcomes students back. But again,
Yeah, we don't got to do that. We ain't got to
yeah,
do that.
okay, all right, cool. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. Okay.
But that means we got two more
What's the other one then?
because I sent you one on Tennessee.
Right, I got Tennessee. I thought we said we were gonna skip that. Or do you want to do Tennessee?
Yeah, you can skip Tennessee. So we're going to Texas.
All right. So we are gonna move from we done
I
went
like to preface by saying this is a follow up and an update on a story that we did on, I think, on my channel. I think on the Politics of It All or on the Silly Saturday, and y'all had a lot to say about that principle at this time. Go ahead, really be.
oh wait a minute, I can't find it. Hold on. I know you emailed it to me. Hold on. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. Okay. This is coming from the Daily Beast. This is an updated article. The original, well, no, I'm sorry, it was updated today, September the 22nd. I mean, yesterday, September the 22nd.
You know, today is September 22nd.
Oh, today? Okay, yeah. So today. Sorry, y'all. Beloved black principal fired in a ludicrous critical race theory spat. So let's talk about it. Parents, teachers, and students were furious when a beloved high school principal in Texas was suspended from his post at Colleyville High School last month. Dr. James Whitfield, the school's first black principal, was put on administrative leave after being accused of pushing critical race theory in the school's curriculum. Now it seems as if their attempts to save him were all in vain. On Monday night, the Grapevine Cooleyville Independent School District voted unanimously not to renew his contract. After a lengthy discussion about the budgeting and tax rates, board members opened the floor to community members who had prepared speeches to share in support of Whitfield. After being warned by the board that there would be no noise or clapping during the segment, nearly 36 attendees took to the podium on behalf of Whitfield. I grew up, excuse me, I grew up in the Jim Crow South, and what's going on here is not particularly new. It's an old playbook, one resident of Grapevine, who said she lived in the area for 10 years, said. But to beat it, we need to start being very clear about what's okay and what's not okay, or we're going to continue being bullied by a reactionary minority. I like that, a reactionary minority. It's not okay to make baseless accusations about what our schools are teaching, particularly when all you know about the topic is what you've been told by professional propagandists. It's not okay to demonstrate contempt for another human being by making salacious comments about his family. It is not okay to punish a respected educator for defending himself when you could not find the fortitude to defend him as you yourself should have done. During the summer of 2020, as racial awakening swept the country after the George Floyd protests, Whitfield wrote a letter to the academic community. In it, he said, education is the key to stopping out ignorance, hate, and systematic racism. Or systemic racism, I should say. The letter appeared to prompt accusations that he was pushing critical race theory in school. In July, Whitfield was accused by a failed school board candidate. I like that. A failed school board candidate of supporting critical race theory being taught in schools. Soon after, Whitfield was put on paid leave. The superintendent of the Grapevine Cooley schools then submitted a request that Whitfield's stint as principal should end. There's no evidence that critical race theory is a part of the school curriculum, and Whitfield has been adamant that he has not shown any public support for it. After receiving the news, Whitfield said in a Facebook post, I was not given any clear reasoning behind the decision and was not given a timetable regarding further steps. I was simply told that it was in the best interest of the district. I'll keep reading it. He deserves me to read the whole thing. Monday's meeting was not the first time a community spoke out about what they said was unjust treatment. Students planned school walkouts, and parents have been vocal on social media about their support for Whitfield. In a meeting, a graduate of Cooleyville High said she also served for 15 years as the assistant coach for a couple of the district schools' debate teams, and said Maya Angelou said Oh, I'm sorry. I was about to say, they said this woman named Maya Angelou. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Dr. Whitfield has also shown us who he is. He is warm and welcoming to his students. He is also a man of principle. He has also shown us that he is willing to hold us accountable as a diverse community where white voices have long drawn out diversity. We should all talk less and listen more to Dr. Whitfield. As applause broke out, the board had to remind attendees that there would be no noise of any kind. A district parent stood up to make a speech. I started a petition in support of this gentleman over here, the woman said. That petition now has 2,200 plus signatures. Another parent and alumni also stated, the thing drops. Also stated, what I've seen happening, it really makes me sad. Whitfield is known by his supporters as an enthusiastic educator and not the CRT boogeyman. And speaking for him, he has been, we've had Diversity Advisory Council for doing, the rest of the district that he is doing. Nevertheless, the board approved Monday night that Whitfield's contract will be terminated at the end of the current school year. He still has the opportunity to appeal the decision. He will have to present evidence and testimony to argue his case if he wants to start a new contract. In response to the wave of support, Whitfield released a statement Wednesday saying he was disappointed that the students' well-being was not the primary focus of the school board. However, he said he was humbled by the dozens of community members who spoke so passionately on his behalf. This painful journey will be much harder without the support of those willing to fight for what is right. And then it just goes on to talk about what critical race theory again is. We've talked about that. Whitfield was the first Black principal of Cooleyville High in its 25-year history. He took the role in 2020.
Let me give y'all some background story and context where this really comes from. I told y'all that this came from, we talked about this on my channel. If y'all remember on my channel, I spoke about the principal that had the picture on his Facebook page of him laid out on the beach with his wife. And I showed that picture on my channel that day. And it was a picture of him. He was fully clothed, had on jeans and a t-shirt. The wife was fully clothed. She didn't even have on a swimsuit. She had on a jean dress or whatever. And they were on the beach. And he, was kissing his wife on the beach. That's it. The problem is he lives in the great state of Texas, where you have Governor Hot Wheels as your governor. And the problem is that white people have a problem when you have a Black man who has a white wife and has no problem having, a public display of affection with his white wife. People actually came up, because I've watched video of some of the people that got up and talked at this school board meeting, and people got up and tried to claim that he had a problem with white people, and because of his alleged critical race theory stance, and we'll get there in a second, he had to tell them, hello, my wife is white and My freaking mother is white. The man is biracial. And so he was like, what do you mean I have a problem with white people? My mother is white. What are you talking about?
Mm.
He was giving you some of the backstory. He was asked, we need you to take the pictures down. And he said, why? There's nothing wrong with my pictures. And he said, oh, and some of you all in my chat said, oh, well, I think that because he's a principal, you shouldn't be kissing anybody. And I remember saying on that live, the man is married. He's kissing his wife. They are fully clothed. What is the problem? But y'all were like, oh, dude. Why is he kissing somebody? That's way too racy when somebody is kissing somebody because mind you, he's the principal of a high school, and that's a problem. His wife is also a teacher. They have a child that's in that school district as well, mind you. He was supposed to meet with the superintendent. The superintendent never met with him, sent him to the executive director. The executive director had no answers. He was like, why am I here? They had no answers. He still has got no answers as to why he's being fired. Because him writing a letter to the educational community saying that education is the key to ending things like systemic racism is not him saying, I'm pushing critical race theory into the classroom. Even if he said that, he's the principal. He ain't even in the classroom teaching the classes. He's not even in the classroom. And really, like I know, a principal in 2021 now, if you were talking about a principal back in the 70s or maybe even in the 80s, they were able to, they had autonomy in dictating the curriculum for their schools back then. But in 2021, principals don't have that kind of power. That kind of power belongs to whom, really be? The district.
Yeah.
So even if he felt like he wanted to critical race theory to be in there, he doesn't even have the power to do that. It's dictated by the district what the teachers teach. He's not even in the classroom to do that. So what we have going on really is here. We have racist ass white people who had a problem with this black man showing love and affection to this white woman, because now we've taken it like we going back to the days of slavery and Jim Crow and segregation. Because how dare you, black man, have a white wife and are kissing and loving on your white wife? So what we're going to do is we're going to stop you at that. We're going to take everything away from you. So now they said that because he had something to say about George Floyd, that's him preaching and pushing critical race theory on our children. Mind you, those same white children love him, and they spoke out in droves about how great he was as a principal. The same white children who you're talking about you're protecting from critical race theory that he can't even implement or teach in the school. Make it make sense. And this type of stuff, I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. We're going to start to see this over and over and over because white people do not like when you have black people in positions of power. They get fearful, they get afraid, and they want no part of being subjective to anyone that is not white. They have to be subjective to anybody that's not white. They have a problem with it, and what they end up doing is finding any way they can to try to get that person out of power, to find any little thing to get them fired, find any little reason to get them out of a position of power. And it's fear mongering. That's a whole attack on critical race theory to begin with. A real subject is not even taught until you become a law student. We talked about that on this channel, did we not? Really be the fact that theory is not even really taught unless you're a law student. What are we talking about? Because you want to whitewash the history of America, and you want white children to feel coddled and feel like, oh, they are great, and you want black children to feel like they are inferior. What the fuck we got going on? And I'm sorry I had to use the F word, but the fact that this black man this black educator who did nothing wrong and who is out here, Dr. James Whitfield, I will say his name, is out here educating our children, trying to be equitable, trying to make sure that all levels of students, all races, all ethnicities, all genders, all creeds and colors get an equitable education, did nothing wrong, and you white people had a problem with that, and so you decide, oh, why we can't have no black man as the head of our high school in our community. Go ahead, really, because I feel myself going down the place, and I want to go down that place. I can do that on my channel. I ain't gonna do that over here. Go ahead, really, because I'm going somewhere.
So I'm gonna say this. Okay, well, we almost done, so go eat a Mike and Ike or something. So this is what I'm gonna say. I agree with most of what El Teddy just said. I think that one of the most profound statements he just made was that we are talking about someone who they have a fear of us in power, a black man in power, a PhD holder, or I'm assuming, but a doctorate on some level holder in power. I think that when you look at the timeline of when he became principal of 2020, you look at the fact that that was the same time that he wrote this letter. You look at the rise of the fear mongering of this critical race theory idea that most people don't even understand what it means and what it is. When you look at the racial climate of what our country has been over the last, well, certainly 2 years since George Floyd's murder, but going back, you know, we know what it is. But for me, I don't feel, this is where I'm going to disagree with El Teddy. I agree with what you're saying about the fear mongering and the fear and the racism. I don't think it's just because he has a white wife. I think that, or not, I shouldn't say just because, but I don't think I think it absolutely is connected to the climate of where we are as a country. You go back to when he became principal and what has happened since then. I mean, 2020 is not a long time. And I just think that it just goes back to
no, I'm not saying that's all it is. I'm saying that's just another.
Well, you were saying like that's where you feel like it started, and I was gonna say I personally just feel like I feel like that's part of it. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like I just feel like it's bigger than that. But I also, and I understand you're saying too about these same kids that were fighting for him. My thing is we oftentimes see where the parents are the bigger problem than the kids. The kids don't have a problem with him. The kids, like you said, they're out there protesting, they're staging walkouts and everything else. They like him. They like their principal. They don't have a problem with him. They don't have a problem with who he married to. They don't have a problem with any of that. And you are absolutely correct. If anybody thinks that in this day and age, in a public school setting, let me be clear, because I'm not talking about a charter school. I'm not talking about a private school. In a public school setting, if you think that a principal has that sort of autonomy over the curriculum, then I'm glad that you're here, because we're going to learn you some things to be different, because that is just not the case anymore. Even as a teacher, that's not the case anymore. I had a lot more autonomy in what I did in my classroom than I do now. When they come into my classroom, now granted, the district may not ever get around to my classroom, but if and when they ever decide to walk in my classroom, there are certain things that they expect to see from the district level. And so I think I absolutely think it's a shame. But honestly, if I were him and I were his family, I wouldn't even want that job back. Like, exactly. They're saying, I wouldn't even fight for it. I wouldn't even fight for it. And the sad thing is the people who are going to lose are those kids. Mm-hmm. That's the sad part, is that the kids lose. And now what you've done is you have disrupted a whole school year, because if everybody knows that this man is leaving at the end of the school year, so what you force him to do is look for a new job. Now, what if somebody calls him next week and says, hey, can you start at the first of the month? So now you not only disrupted the whole school year, but you are on campus the school without a leader.
No, really, he's not on campus.
So he's still suspended?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, well,
watch footage of the school board meeting. He had to go in and sign up for a time slot to speak like a regular person, off the street. And he was in the middle of giving his statement, and in the middle of his statement, the lady said, "Thank you, Dr. Whitfield. You can go have a seat." And when
I need to see this picture. Oh, Teddy, can you find the picture? Because Abby said that she think the picture was inappropriate. I need to see the picture because I don't want to say what I got to say until I see the hold on, let me see if I can Google Dr. James Whitfield.
Dr. James Whitfield
and
wife. Dr. James Whitfield and wife. And it's a picture. Now, some people say, I don't feel like it was, first of all, it was on his own personal Facebook page. It wasn't even on his professional Facebook page. It was on his personal Facebook page. And it was a picture of him on the beach with his wife laid out. I didn't find it that bad, but the people on my channel that day, I remember, they said,
this picture right here?
Let me see. Yes.
Why is that inappropriate?
That's what I said. I said, that's his wife. It would be one thing if he was just with some.
So let me ask. Okay, so let me ask a question. If he were an accountant, would that be inappropriate? If he were a lawyer, would that be inappropriate? If he was a doctor, would that be inappropriate? Why is it inappropriate?
Argument on my channel. I made the same argument. I said, wait a minute, how is this inappropriate? How? They're not naked. They are the man is showing love and affection to his wife. They have a child that's in 3rd grade. Where is the inappropriate? I don't know. Those people telling me it's inappropriate, explain to me what makes it inappropriate. I'm waiting for a good explanation of that.
Like my principal said. My principal said that people think that that when school is over, that we just go into an underground bunker, we sleep, we eat, and then we come out of that underground bunker to teach school, and then we go back. It's like wow.
I would listen if my pastor and his wife had that photo. I wouldn't think it was inappropriate for them. There's nothing. They're not in the middle of getting. I see a man and his wife showing love and affection for each other, which is what I thought we were about. Love, a married couple. God forbid a married couple.
And it was his private Facebook. So if this wasn't something that he had posted, I mean, I had a whole situation at my school, where I had posted a picture on my Instagram and the students found it of me smoking a cigar. And oh my gosh, you would think that they acted like I just was rolling a blunt. Like it was like it's a cigar, like a real tobacco cigar, but it's just like the standard. It's just the standard. Abby said, wait, I thought it was a different pic. If that was on his personal page and it was private, then I don't care.
I don't care if it was private or not. It's on his personal page, first of all. It ain't on a school website. It ain't on his professional Facebook page. It was on his personal Facebook page. Even, first of all, it is the man and his wife. They ain't in the middle of having sex. There's nothing salacious about it. The man, technically, they're not even kissing on their picture. I don't see the inappropriateness of it. But it's this, oh, well, you're around my kids. Hey, you grown-ass parents are around your kids every day and not dare to say the things that y'all do in y'all goddamn houses around these same.
She said private as in not on his professional page. Right, like that his own personal, right, like not his, like, not the school district website.
Right, yeah, that's not on the school page. That's not. He had it on his personal Facebook page. Yeah. Where is this inappropriate? Where and how?
Well, you guys, listen. We like to hold ourselves to an hour.
I don't really be, but that story got me.
No. Oh no, I'm fine with it. And again, I stand with you. If somebody somehow you see this, I stand with you. Dr. Whitfield. I pray, I'm sure you will find a bigger and better opportunity. You may need to get out of Texas. You need to move your family up out of Texas.
I'm hoping he gets an opportunity to be a superintendent or, somebody that is down to the district somewhere having real influence, because it's a shame that this man has lost his job for no reason, and the students of that high school have lost the leader of their high school over nonsense, over stupidity.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Like, this is, and he's still to this day, and while he does have a case, if he wanted to file a lawsuit for wrongful termination, he probably has a hell of a case. But I wouldn't even want to go down that road because I don't want to work for you people anymore. I forgot to mention this part, really, B. There were scores of Black people that were told that they could not go into that meeting to speak about that principle because they had on T-shirts that and the people, the sheriffs and people were there saying you can't go into this meeting if you have a T-shirt with any signage or anything on that T-shirt that says anything. And there were members of Black organizations that were going there and had the name of the Black organization on there and were not allowed in that meeting and not allowed to speak because they were not allowed to have quote unquote signage on any of their articles of clothing. And all they had was the name of whatever Black organization they were a part of. Oh yeah, it was the whole thing going on. Remember, this is the great state of Texas. A mess.
Wow. Well, we will definitely keep you posted if we hear any updates. Hopefully, like I said, you find something bigger and better. We will definitely be here more regularly. We took a little, let's say we just took a little hiatus to get everybody back to work. But we'll be back, you guys. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, everybody that came through. As always, Quintessential, thank you for sharing us on your social media platforms. It is much appreciated. And you guys, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a kin. Shouts out to Alexander Rogers. Go on and get us with a subscribe. Hit us with a little subscribe. The count is going up slowly but surely. The views are looking pretty decent, for the fact that we, for us not being as consistent. But the views are pretty decent. So, be sure to share us out, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And that's my last word. I'll give it over to the doctor.
We thank you all for being here. As to echo really be, we will stay at the forefront of all things education, screaming from the rooftops. Y'all hear about a lot of stuff on education here first. And then you start to hear it in the regular media and stuff like that. And so we'll try to stay at the forefront of all things education so that you can be informed and you can make informed decisions about what's going on. As Really Be said, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and share it out on all of your social media platforms, because not only do other educators need to hear this, but parents need to hear this, students need to hear this, and people in positions of power need to hear an insider's voice on what's going on in our education system. Let's be clear, the lion's share of your tax dollars go to education.
Facts.
The lion's share of your tax dollars go to education. So if that's the case, you need to be informed on what's going on, and you need to care more about where your money is going. And if there are things that are happening that has your money being used inappropriately or not being used to its best potential, then you need to have something to say about it, and we'll bring that here to you. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Quintessential, for sharing us out on your social media. I know you're always on top of that. And so forth. I'm taking the liberty to do that because I don't do that on my own channel really deep. So I love being able to say like, share, subscribe. Oh, yes. As Ebby would say, tell a friend to tell a kid or whatever. Yes, all of that good stuff. That's all I got. Until next time, we'll be back next week.